What are you going to do if you're out in the middle of nowhere with no cell service like we are now, and your car breaks down and you're stranded? How are you going to handle that? So you're out and about, you're having a great time, and then you break an axle, or your transmission goes out. I mean, do I carry spare parts? Not really. It's impossible to carry everything. So what are you going to do when you're out in the middle of nowhere? Well, like we are kind of right now. We're on a road that's seldom traveled, having a good time. What are we going to do if something bad like that does happen? Who are you going to call? Your cell phone doesn't work. And who's going to come out to begin with? You know, I got to tell you something. The way I think started a long time ago. Well, back when Linda and I started sailing, that was back in the 1970s, there was no GPS. There was no satellite communication. There was no internet or any way to get a hold of anybody out on the middle of the ocean. And people would ask us, what are you going to do if you break down out there? Well, we're going to take care of it ourselves, because my attitude was, I don't want somebody else risking their life to come out and save my sorry you-know-what. Besides, let's say that you lose your mast on your sailboat and it falls overboard, and that's happened to many sailors many times. Well, back in my day, what you did is you jury-rigged something. You took a spinnaker pole and tied it up in a vertical position and hung a working jib off it or something like that, and spent the next month or two finding your way back to port. Because who's going to come and get you? The Coast Guard deals with the coast, and you're out in the middle of the ocean. Maybe you're not even on shipping lanes. We had to be prepared to take care of ourselves. We had plenty of food, plenty of water on board, plenty of tools, and plenty of know-how that we made sure we had before we set out. Besides, you know what happens when they come out and get you? They take you off your expensive sailboat, and they leave it adrift in the ocean, and they take you aboard the ship and take you back into safety, and you've lost everything. Well, we couldn't afford that. We were a young couple. But you know what? The same thing applies to being out here in the wilderness. I don't depend on somebody else to come out here and get me. Now, if you break down, there's some different scenarios that you could follow. One scenario is you're in freezing cold weather. In that scenario, you should stay with your vehicle. 2 winters ago, or winter before last, we had a young man here in Montana that set out in his pickup truck with his dog, and all he was wearing was a t-shirt and a flannel hoodie, and it was sub-zero weather. And his truck broke down, and they found him just a little ways from his truck, frozen to death. In that case, he would have been better off if he would have just stayed with his vehicle and made the best of it and hoped that somebody showed up. But most of the time, you're out during nice weather. I mean, that's why we come out here. We come out because the weather's nice, right? So if you break down, you should, of course, have tools to handle simple repairs. But most of the things that are going to happen out here, you're not going to be able to fix, or you might not be able to fix. So here's what you need to have. You need to have plenty of water. Linda and I always have at least a gallon of water in the car, plus what water we have in our drinking bottles in our packs. You need to have some energy foods, energy bars, some cookies, some things like that, which we always have in the car, amongst other food. And you need to have a backpack, and you need to have decent clothing, warm clothing. So I always carry layers in the car, so does Linda, and even layers for pants. There's always a windbreaker pants that we put on in case it's really cold. But you need to do one thing before any of this. As you're heading into the woods, your mind needs to be telling you something. Don't go further in than you can walk out. And Linda and I will be on the ATV, or we'll be in our car, and she has a sixth sense for this stuff. She'll say it's time to turn around. Because you don't want to get so far in that it's going to take you days to walk out. That's a bad scenario. So we always stop before we get too far in. It's bad enough to have to spend one night on the trail walking out, but to have to spend 2 or 3 or 4, that's getting critical then. Sure, we have modern GPS with locator beacons on them that you can push a button and they'll come out and send a helicopter and pick you up and haul you out. But I don't want to depend on other people. I just like to depend on myself. Some of that stuff can be really expensive, and it's good to have. But I just like to be able to take care of myself when things go wrong, and we always have. Like what we did with the trailer, when the axle, when the suspension broke. You know, we found a way and we made it work and we got out. This is the same kind of thing. So, yeah, you could break down out here and you could just say, well, I'm just going to wait for somebody to come along. And maybe somebody comes along that day, or maybe somebody doesn't come along till the following week. I'd rather find myself than depend on having somebody else find me. So what do we plan on doing when the vehicle breaks down or the trailer breaks down? Well, number one, first we're going to try to fix it. Number two, we're going to wait for some decent weather, make sure we got weather, good weather. And then number three, we're walking out. Now, I've done videos in the past on what we have with us in the car. I'll put links to them down below this video. I did a video on exactly what's in my toolkit, by the tool. And then the emergency equipment, tow straps, all that, first aid kit. I got a video out on that too. The link is below. But one of the things I depend on most is the backpack you always see me carrying in my videos. Maybe you'd like to see what's in that. Okay, the things in my pack are just in there all the time. Clothing and things I may add or subtract, but these are the things that are just always in here. Now, this is not a bug out bag. It's not even a survival bag as such. It's just the stuff that whenever we head away from the car, I just happen to have in there. So if we were stranded and we were going to walk out, there's probably some things I'd add. So first of all, I always have at least one water. Today I happen to have 2. If I was walking out, I'd be carrying that 1-gallon jug that's in the car too. I'm going to try to do this kind of fast so I don't spend too much time on it. Inside here is a rain jacket. Lightweight, stuff's really small. In here is a reflective tube tent and a space blanket. And these are just Walmart. There's probably $6 worth of stuff in there, but that's shelter. And I've used the space blanket, not this one, but ones like it, several times in the past. They're very handy to have. They do reflect heat back on you, so if you've got one of these behind you and a campfire in front of you, you'll feel the heat on your back. Inside here, paracord, things to tie stuff with, to tie the tube tent up, things like that. This is a water purifier straw that you can just drink right out of a stream or something. This is a collapsible container, so you can take that water with you. A drinking cup. It also makes it so you can boil water. Some sustenance. There's just a few energy bars in here. If I was walking away from a stranded car, I'd pack all the food I could carry. I don't want to starve. In here is fire starting stuff. There's a lighter in there, there's a ferro rod, there's a little bit of fat wood in here, things to start a fire. That's what's in this kit. I don't need to go through each item. A shemagh. It's good for straining dirty water, you know, getting the big lumps out of it before you drink it, or for wrapping around your neck to stay warm, or for putting some water on and wrapping it over your head to stay cool. Well, what's in here? This is just various little things. I used to be an asthmatic. I'm not so much anymore. I haven't used an inhaler in years, but I still carry one. Lip balm. Water purification tablets. Sometimes those are handy. Tick removal. It's nice to be able to get those buggers out of your skin. A can opener, in case you find a can to open. Actually, I just always have this because I've been caught without one once or twice. 100% DEET. Nice and small package. Fingernail clippers. I don't know. They're just good for various things. I always like to have a set along. Wire, just for tying things up, or maybe snare wire in case you're hungry. You need to catch a squirrel or something. But wire is good for other things too. That's what's handy in that little bag right there. This bag, it's just more food. There's some nuts in here and probably a couple more power bars or something like that. But that's all that is just some more food items. I learned to carry food because when Linda gets hungry, she needs something right away. I carry my favorite compass all the time. Flashlight, of course. Some matches. I just like to have matches. Frankly, I find a ferro rod hotter and easier to start a fire with than a match. A headlamp. I like to have a headlamp. These Vaunts have been working out real good for me. They're cheap, but they work good. Well, there's a knife in my pocket, there's a knife on my belt, but just to make sure, there's a lightweight Mora in my pack. These are only about 10 bucks. I think it's called a Mora Companion or something like that. You know what? They're a good quality knife for the money, and they don't weigh much. I use it as a neck knife sometimes too. Tissue, paper towels, sanitizer. Sanitizer is also handy for starting a fire because it's alcohol based and it carries a flame well. And there's another space blanket in there. And let's see here. Just some swabs, alcohol swabs, lens cleaner, magnifying glass in case you're removing a splinter or something. And of course, a notebook. Write down headings, anything you might need to remember as you walk along. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, share, and subscribe, and see you around. Aloha.